What would three students get themselves into when they realized that werewolves don't attack other animals? What would James, Peter, and Sirius do in order to make sure that Remus didn't have to go through his transformations alone? Follow along on this magical Harry Potter What If as we discover how three students managed to complete a highly complicated transformation that even most adult wizards do not risk trying. James, Sirius, and Peter watched as their friend exited the Great Hall. Remus always left for the Shrieking Shack far sooner than he needed to, but he never wanted to risk that he would still be on school grounds when he began his transformation. It had been years since they had learned of what Remus was, and each month they felt terrible that there wasn't more that they could do to help him. Though Remus explained to his friends that just having their support was more than enough to keep him going. Remus hadn't known anyone outside of his parents before he started at Hogwarts, as they were too afraid to let him near any other children, for his safety and their own. And so, James, Sirius, and Peter had to wait until morning. They would meet Remus outside the Whomping Willow, as they always did, and take him to the hospital wing with the hopes that he injured himself less than he had the month before. This time around, Remus had rather minor cuts and didn't need to be in the hospital wing for more than a few hours. He was sent on his way, and that meant he was expected to attend classes. Luckily for him, the teachers were always more lenient the day after his transformation, and his friends paid more attention in class than they ever did to ensure Remus had notes from whatever he missed. Remus had fallen asleep rather quickly once they had taken their seats in Defense Against the Dark Arts, his first class after being released from the hospital wing. His quill was still in his hand as he rested his head on the desk in front of him. Sirius moved his pot of ink so that Remus wouldn't knock it over accidentally. This lesson was about different types of shapeshifters. The professor talked of werewolves, which left Sirius and James holding in a good laugh, knowing that no notes were needed for Remus on this subject. He also explained the difference between an Animagus and a Metamorph Magus. An Animagus was someone who, after a long and complicated potion process, could change into an animal at will. It's not a chosen animal, one linked with your personality, much like a Patronus charm. While a Metamorph Magus was someone who was born with the power of shapeshifting. The professor had continued, going into more detail about how the two differed and explaining what a Maledictus was. However, Sirius had stopped paying attention. He had gotten an idea. Werewolves didn't attack other animals like they did humans. Unless provoked or attacked, werewolves would leave other animals alone. And if an Animagus could change into an animal at will, then he, James, and Peter could help Remus through his transformations. James had always been good at potions, thanks to his father being a potions master. He also knew how much Remus would hate the idea. If the potion was as complicated as the professor made it sound, then it was likely to be dangerous for them to attempt. After all, if it was easy, everyone would be an Animagus. If they were going to try it, they'd have to keep it a secret from Remus. Here, James pulled a book from the bookshelf, sitting beside Sirius at the library table. It should be in this one. Sirius quickly flipped through the pages until he saw the word Animagus written across the top. Okay. Sirius positioned the book between him and the other two. First, we have to hold a mandrake leaf in your mouth from one full moon to the next. And we'll need our hair, a dewdrop from a place that has not seen light or human feet for 7 days, and a chrysalis from a death's head hawk moth. Those aren't exactly normal ingredients, Peter commented. We could probably find this all at school, except maybe a place with no light or feet. James laughed. I've never seen anything like that in a potions recipe. Would the potions room stores have a chrysalis? Sirius questioned. I think so. If not, the potions shop in Hogsmeade definitely does. James nodded. And I know we have a silver teaspoon and crystal phials here that we can use. This could take a while, Peter pointed out. A month with the mandrake leaf, and then we have to wait for an electrical storm. And we have to wait for the next full moon. Sirius agreed. But that means we have until then to get all of the ingredients together. Peter, why don't you take care of getting the mandrake leaves from herbology, and you can make sure we have enough crystal phials. James began. Sirius, You can work on finding a place that doesn't have light and feet. And I'll try to get the chrysalis and the silver teaspoons from the potion stores without anyone noticing. Sirius had the most difficult job. How was he supposed to know if someone had their feet out while in random rooms of the castle? He had to search for a room that others hadn't been in for some time, a room that had been forgotten about. While it seemed obvious that people would not have taken their shoes off in a random broom cupboard, he had no way of knowing for sure. He also had to take into consideration if any light had gotten into the room. A broom cupboard would get sunlight, even if just a little, each time the door was opened. His best bet would be a room in the dungeons. As he walked the dungeons, looking for a suitable room, he watched as a few ghosts flew past him, all moving into the same room. It was a large room that almost no one ever entered. The whole school had left that room to the ghosts, for them to have a place of their own. He followed the ghosts. The whole room was dark, no windows to allow in outside light. The ghosts didn't pay him any attention. There was a door in the corner that had caught Sirius's gaze. A closet, tucked away in a room that ghosts inhabited, where he was certain that no one had entered in some time. The closet was empty aside from cobwebs and dust, so there was no reason to enter except to collect the dew. There was little chance that anyone would enter the room before he needed the ingredient. However, to be safe, he moved an old, dusty couch in front of the door, making it far less noticeable. James had a bit easier of a time. Professor Slughorn loved him, and he would easily be able to get into the ingredient room. Since there were enough silver teaspoons for an entire class in the event that they needed them, if a few went missing, it was unlikely that they would be noticed or missed. James searched the entire cupboard for the chrysalis of a death's head hawk moth, but he couldn't find anything that even resembled moth parts. He'd have to get to Hogsmeade, and he'd have to do it without getting caught, as they wouldn't have another school visit until after the next full moon. The next weekend, he used his cloak of invisibility to sneak through the one-eyed witch passage, the secret tunnel that took him into Honeyduke's cellar. Once in Hogsmeade, he was able to get to J. Pippin's potion shop. James had gotten to know Pippin a bit over his time at Hogwarts. He had known who the Potters were and was excited to see young James take an interest in his father's work. He didn't even bat an eye when James asked him for a chrysalis. It wasn't a common ingredient, but the shop owner was more than happy to sell him one, only with the warning that it was a rare ingredient for a reason and that he shouldn't be experimenting without supervision. That was 2 of the 3 done. Now the 3 students needed a mandrake leaf, something that could easily be taken from herbology once they were ready to start, and crystal phials, which they should already have because of their school supplies. The next full moon fell on a Saturday, so Peter was sure to take the mandrake leaves from class a few days prior to ensure he wouldn't have to sneak back into the classroom. Now it was time for the 3 to try a potion that was far more complicated than what students typically encounter. It took the boys 3 times to try the potion. After taking Remus to the Shrieking Shack, the 3 returned to the school grounds and placed the mandrake leaf in their mouths. They would have to keep it there until the next full moon, careful not to swallow it or spit it out. It proved especially difficult during dinner or when they were called on in class. The first time they had to restart, Peter had accidentally swallowed his during breakfast when he was taking a drink, so they had to wait until the next full moon. The second time, Sirius had lost his during a Quidditch practice. He had come to find James when a bludger came barreling towards him. He was lucky to have the bludger hit his shoulder instead of his head. But he lost the mandrake leaf. The third time, the boys had been able to make it the entire month without losing or swallowing the leaf. While Remus was in the Shrieking Shack, the other 3 gathered their ingredients and met back by the Whomping Willow, where they were less likely to be caught. First the leaves, James started, passing a crystal phial to Sirius and Peter. He pulled the mandrake leaf from his mouth first, dropping it into the glass container. Then a piece of your hair. Then the dew. Sirius poured a silver teaspoon full into each of their phials. And the chrysalis. Peter added the cocoon. The 3 closed their phials, sealing the ingredients inside. It doesn't look like a potion. We're supposed to drink this? Well, we have to wait for a thunderstorm. Maybe something will happen before then. Sirius shrugged. You think it got enough moonlight? James questioned. The book said we have to hide it in a dark place now. Sirius nodded. I can put these back in the cupboard I found the dew in. Now we just hope that the next storm isn't during class? Peter questioned. And we have to say the chant every sunrise and every sunset, James confirmed. Come on, let's get these hidden before we get caught. It was nearly another month before a storm came through. They had gotten some rain, but nothing that was strong enough for what they needed. Sirius and Peter had just sat down for lunch when James came running in. Sirius, Peter, it's time. James had a large smile over his face. Time for what? Remus questioned, looking up from his food. It's a surprise. Sirius climbed to his feet. Wait here, we'll show you later. I'll get the files. Where are we going? Peter questioned as the three left the Great Hall. The Quidditch pitch? No one will be down there while it's raining. James confirmed. Let's hurry. We don't want to miss this. When Peter returned with the files, there was a red liquid inside. The ingredients had somehow transformed from the rare items to this red drinkable potion. Okay, we say the spell one more time, and then we drink. James spoke as they each took their potion. Amato, animo, animato, animagus. The three pointed their wands to their chest as they finished the chant, and quickly drank the potion following the spell. There was a loud clap of thunder as the three began their first transformation. Sirius felt a heartbeat in his chest, only it felt as if it overlapped with his own. He felt a tightness in his chest and dropped to his knees. As a pain jolted through him, he saw a vision of a black dog, though he knew there wasn't one there with him. The pain stopped immediately, and Sirius found himself in his new form. A large black dog, larger than most pets. Sirius stopped and imagined himself back as a human, and as simple as that, he was now standing in the field as himself. James didn't feel the extra heartbeat as Sirius did, but his pain was stronger. He felt as if he were growing, doubling in size as he came face to face with a stag. Almost like a reflection of himself. His transformation bag was just as painful, leaving him on the grounds of the Quidditch pitch breathing heavily. While Peter didn't feel the double heartbeat or have any immense pain, he struggled to turn back into himself. Moving around as a small rat amongst the grass, he crawled over Sirius's foot, trying to get the boy's attention. James and Sirius had to walk Peter through turning back, telling him to picture himself as a person and not as a rat. What have you guys done? A voice suddenly caught their attention. Standing near the entrance of the pitch, still in the cover from the rain, was Remus. Remus? Sirius questioned as he helped James back to his feet. What are you doing out here? You're joking. Remus stepped forward, into the rain, and his clothes began to get wet, though it would be some time before he was as soaked as the others were. You ran off in the middle of lunch without telling me anything. You had to know I would follow you. Well, surprise, James forced a laugh. We said we would show you later. You all just turned into animals, Remus stated, looking annoyed. You're all Animagus now, that's dangerous. Only if it doesn't work. Sirius laughed. But it did, and now we can help you during your transformations. You are not coming to the Shrieking Shack with me. Remus crossed his arms. But werewolves don't attack animals, James argued. We won't be in any danger now. Can we talk about this inside? Peter piped up. It's starting to come down pretty hard. We'll have to change before class. You all did this for me? Remus finally realized. So you don't have to be alone all the time, Sirius smiled. We can test it out during the next full moon. Becoming an Animagus is a long and difficult process. What happens when 3 students strive to accomplish something so complicated to help a friend? And what else would James, Sirius, and Peter do to help Remus through his monthly transformation? The world of Harry Potter has many magical stories that have not yet been told. Don't forget to like and subscribe to join us on the next magical journey.